crime very much back on the agenda in terms of stories that are around today, and a lot of things being announced which I think people would very much welcome, but would also go, how come that wasn't already a thing? I find myself thinking this an awful lot with government announcements. When they say, oh, we're going to do this, you think, really? Was that not already the law? So two things crucially. Judges to get more powers to force criminals to attend sentencing for their crimes. This is in England and Wales. And if you don't attend your sentencing, you're looking at an extra 2 years behind bars. This is in the case of wake of Lucy Letby and Thomas Cashman. I think the two crucial cases. There have been two others as well. But also, police chiefs to get more powers to be able to sack rogue police officers. So if you're found to have committed gross misconduct, you're then automatically sacked. Again, why was this not always the case?
Yeah, exactly right. And yesterday we had the remarkable announcement that police were now going to investigate theft and robbery.
That was over the weekend. I mean, we're moved on from that. Again, every time these things are announced, you go, was that not your job already?
Yeah, quite right. And all people want is, if a crime is committed against them, for it to be investigated, reported. And what are the crimes that bother people? It's thefts, it's burglaries, it's antisocial behaviour, it's criminal damage. Let me tell you what it isn't. It isn't tweets. It isn't mean words. It isn't, somebody not attending their diversity course at work, which no doubt will be the next crime that they're going to be investigated. This is basic. But we have had, and it needs to be repeated, 13 years of Conservative government, and can you tell? No.
I mean, this is the extraordinary thing. The amount of times that I have a minister on and I always say, can we just check who has been in power for the last 13 years? We will be talking to Policing Minister Chris Philp, who I'm actually quite a fan of. He talks very straight about a lot of these things. We'll be talking specifically about these rogue police officers. In terms of judges having the power to drag people into the dock. Now, the law is going to change to give judges new powers. There's been a real demand for this, and from the families who lost babies to the mass murderer she is, let's call her what she is, Lucy Letby, and also the mother of little Olivia Pratt-Corbell, who was shot dead in her own home by Thomas Cashman in Liverpool last year. The judges are going to get these powers to order offenders into the courtroom. Prison officers are allowed to use reasonable force to deliver criminals to face justice. And there are some calls, well, if they think that there's going to be a scene and that the criminal is going to be sort of shouting abuse or perhaps doing anything that would distress the victims of the crime that they're convicted of more, then they could just have the sentencing piped into the room that they're in, and basically, they can put their fingers in their ears, but they're going to hear and see what people are saying. I have to say, I was under the illusion that judges did have the ability to require people to come into the courtroom, brought upstairs, from the dock, into the dock, handcuffed, you can kick and scream as all you want, but you're in contempt of court. But the key thing is this penalty of 2 years extra behind bars if you don't appear in court. That wouldn't have worked in the case of Lucy Letby or Thomas Cashman or Jordan McSweeney or Coach Selamaj, who both they killed Zara, Selina and Sabina Nessa, because if you're going to be serving life behind bars, an extra 2 years is meaningless.
Yeah, and that is why you need to be able to use force. And I just don't know what it even says about our society now that this is even in doubt.
People are going, oh, what are you going to do? Drag people? Yeah. Oh, and what if they start shouting? You gag them? Yeah.
Quite.
I don't know why people have a problem with it. We're not talking about someone who's a suspect. We're talking about someone who's been convicted. I think they should have to be there for their verdicts, because we saw with Lucy Letby, again, we didn't hear about the verdicts until the final verdict had been given, and there was a period of about a week. So she was in court for the first few verdicts and then decided she didn't want to turn up in court. You don't get that option, lady.
Yeah, there's a reason in legalese they call it hearken to the verdict of the jury. Hearken. It's stand there and be account. You are subject to that. And by the way,
you'll respect the law enough that you will actually be there in the courtroom.
Yeah, and I almost think it says something about our lower expectations of criminals. I mean, we used
I've got fairly low expectations of mass murderers, to be fair.
But we used to be able to bring people up to court to get told they were going to get a mandatory death sentence, to be hanged until they die. In the lifetimes of people that are in this country, people were told that, and they were expected to come into court to hear the inevitable, to know that. And we can't even bring someone up that is going to sit around in a cushy jail in which she's going to wear nice clothes. She's going to be able to watch TV for murdering 7 babies.
Yeah.
7 babies, and she's got a pretty darn nice lifestyle, frankly, nicer than many people around the world live. And we haven't even got the confidence, the self-assuredness
But we do.
to
No,
hear.
but okay, you and I do. I'm pretty sure everyone watching and listening this right now does as well. The vast majority of people would have no issue with this. People are very sensible of these things. It's the people involved in sort of law and order. It's MPs as well. A lot of them, they talk the talk, but they don't actually go through with it. It's the human rights lawyers. It's lots of people working in that field are all sort of, people have got rights. I feel very strongly about, people being innocent until proven guilty, and really being very, very careful. Like I sat on a jury earlier this year, and I took my duties, as did everyone else in that jury, incredibly seriously. You have so much power in your hands over someone's, future life in terms of what they're going to be able to do with their life and what happens to them in the next few years even. And I think people do take it very seriously, but we also understand that the seriousness of the crimes. Once someone is convicted, you've got the right. I mean, again, I don't believe in capital punishment, but I definitely believe in whole life sentences. I find it extraordinary that if someone needs to be off the streets for 28 years, they need to be off the streets for life. Now, it's absolutely absurd. And the British public, by the way, were promised that when they got rid of the death penalty, that life would mean life. Actually, it normally means 12 years.